Hi everyone, welcome to today's edition of the Azure Cloud Resume Challenge. This is the last class in this series, and today we'll be doing something on building and hosting a functional website on Azure storage accounts. And it's good to have everyone here. My name is Oluwadamnola and I'm moderating for you today. So I'll just take us on a short journey. This challenge started in June 2022. And what the aim of the challenge has been to enable all participants create, build, and deploy their resumes to Azure using the static website feature on Azure storage accounts. And also in this challenge, we have explored different tools such as Azure Functions, Git, Azure Cosmos Db. And for the past few weeks, it's been a really immersed teaching such that people have learned how to build different Azure resources, the resource group storage accounts. If you don't know anything about the storage accounts, you're not too late. If you check through this channel, I'm sure you'll find videos teaching you on the Azure storage, Azure storage and Azure storage account, of course. Yeah. So I'll be introducing our speaker. That's the person that has been taking the series. His name is Imo Etuk. He's an experienced cloud engineer. He's also a Microsoft certified trainer. He specializes in cloud computing, both Azure, AWS, on-premises infrastructure, and even SaaS solutions, DevOps, containerized solutions. So trust me, you are in the best hands, and you're about to have the best time today. Also, if you have not watched the previous classes in the series, you can also check the channel. There you can catch up on all the videos. It's not too late to do that. So today, let's get started, and Umaetu could be coming on now. Thank you and enjoy yourself. Please, if you have questions, you can leave it in the chat. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here to pick your questions.
Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. I know a lot of you are joining us from different time zone, and this might be good morning, good evening to you, and wherever you're joining us from. Today marks just as the moderator has done justice to the introduction, today marks the end of this series. We actually started the series in June 2022, and it has been an amazing section for those that have been joining us. And I know that a lot of people had made requests and they want to join us for the first time. It's not too late because we are going to digress a little to what we did from the beginning to the end. Today is going to be a kind of an overall summary of all that we have been doing so far. And we are going to get started now. Please, if you are with your system, ensure that you're connected as well, because we are going to do a lot of hands-on practical. We are not going to do so much of the talk section, because this is the project that will enable you to, at least after the section, you'll be able to build something on your own. We'll go straight to the Azure portal. I believe you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? So if you are there with me, this is right. A lot of people have heard about Azure. What is Azure? I had a contact who reached out to me during the week when post that I met. What is Azure? Is that I've been hearing of Microsoft Azure, and what is it all about? So I will tell you, because there are a lot of newcomers among us. So I will tell you that Microsoft Azure is simply a cloud platform whereby companies, individuals rent a space, pay for a space that they want to use, and host the application, their website, and it could be mobile application, it could be web application, and they only get to pay for what they use, the portion they use, and they don't get charged beyond what they use. Just like you having a prepaid meter in your house, and whenever you recharge, that's when you have electric supply. So it's like that. And aside this, there are a lot Azure can do. With Microsoft Azure, you can actually have some of your data on premises, like in your company premises or in your office premises, and have some of this data being synchronized to Azure gradually. That's when we talk about hybrid cloud. So I'm just going to do justice by taking you through some of the simple terms when it comes to cloud computing. Microsoft Azure is one of the platform cloud computing platform, and it's a public cloud platform, and they have about 3 models, just as other cloud like AWS and Google Cloud Platform. We have the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and we also have software as a service. This section cut across two sections, model. It cut across the infrastructure as a service, and it's also cut across the platform as a service. So let's get started by looking at what this program is all about. Is that when you hear about cloud resume challenge, it's about you hosting your website and a kind of your CV. Let me call it CV so that we can all get the logic. So you have your CV hosted on Azure Storage. This is Azure Storage. Azure Storage is one of the features of a platform as a service on Azure. So you only pay hosting your website on Microsoft Azure Storage account, utilizing the static website feature of this particular resources is quite cheaper. Azure don't charge you like that. It's a very cheaper option for you to host your website. So let me scroll down. I'm going to, like I said, there is no official PowerPoint slide to present. We are going to make use of the official Microsoft document. If you can see from on the screen, let me zoom in so that you can see. So we have this. An Azure Storage account contains all of your Azure Storage data objects, including blobs, file shares, queues, tables, and disks. The storage account provides a unique namespace for your Azure Storage data that is accessible from anywhere in the world, either over HTTP or HTTPS. What that simply means is that unlike when compared to on-premises that you have your data stored on the server, you only get to access it when you are close to your server. But with Azure Storage account, even if you host the data anywhere, you can host it in the East US, you can host it in the West US, and you can be in Nigeria or any part of the world and access your data without any barriers, as long as you are connected to the internet. So we have some types of Azure Storage accounts. When it comes to Azure Storage offers several types of storage accounts. So we have each type support different features, and it has its own pricing model. So feel free to check out the pricing model for Azure Storage after this lecture. So we have the types of storage account. We have supported storage services. We have the standard general purpose version 2, which it supports the storage services Blob Storage. Blob Storage is a kind of storage that is used to store unstructured data. Unstructured data in the sense that you can store video files, you can store PDF files, you can store anything. It's not until the data is structured. So you can use it to store any kinds of data. And we have the Azure Data Lake. We also have, and the redundancy option that are available, we have the locally redundant storage, LRS, and we have the geo-redundant storage. We also have the read access geo-redundant storage. So if you read more about it, because of our time, we'll move down to other function. This Azure static website, this static website hosting in Azure Storage is a feature of Azure Storage account. When in the course of this section, we are going to see how we can enable this after creating our storage account. We'll see how we can enable the static website feature to be able to host our content, our website content. And and with Azure Storage static website, you can save static content of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and image files directly from a storage container named web. Hosting your content in Azure Storage enables you to use serverless architecture that include Azure Functions and other platform as a services. So we have that. When we are going to learn about Azure Function. So that we move down to another feature, that resources that we are going to use as a result of this section. And that resources is called the Content Delivery Network on Azure. It's normally referred to Azure Cdn. That is short form. So a content delivery network, CDN, is a distributed network of servers that can efficiently deliver web content to users. This CDN store cache content on edge servers in points of presence locations that are close to end users to minimize latency. What this simply means is that with Azure CDN, your content, your website content are easily cached and delivered quickly to your users at the nearest servers. So we move down to Azure Function. So Azure Function in this about is a serverless option. When we talked about serverless computing, like in other cloud platform, we have we have like the AWS Lambda, we have Azure Functions, and we also have the one for Google Cloud Platform as well. So Azure Function is a serverless solution that allows you to write less code, maintain less infrastructure, and save on cost. With Azure Function, all you need to do is your developer just focus on writing your code. And with Azure Function, you can actually ensure that your code meet the security criteria that you need your code to meet, because all your attention you will be focusing on your development team, ranging from the developer, the QA testers, the CI/CD, the DevOps engineer who comes in to build CI/CD pipelines and all that. So Azure has already prepared a server for you to just bring in your code and host. And the good part is that your code can only get charged once your code is triggered or once it's run. That's when you can get charged. Azure cannot just charge you if you're hosting your static content there. So that's the good part. And one thing I forgot to mention is that with Azure you can save your capital expenditure. You now run on operational costs. In terms of operational costs, it means that when you only get to pay whenever your resources are running. If they are not running, Microsoft Azure will not charge you. And for instance, if you are having a kind of a business critical application that you need it to run 247, that customers should not be disappointed with downtime and with minimal latency, Microsoft Azure provides you with all those features. So you can enjoy a lot of features when it comes to Azure. So I will advise you that after this section, take a look, just take your time to explore Azure. There are lots you can get from Azure. So we have Azure Cosmos Db. So one of the services we're going to use is also Azure Cosmos Db. So Azure Cosmos DB is a kind of a highly distributed serverless storage resources on Azure. If you read from today's applications are required to be highly responsive and always online. To achieve low latency and high availability, instances of this application need to be deployed in data centers that are close to the IOS. Application needs to in real time to large changes in usage at peak hours, store ever increasing. So this takes us to Azure Cosmos DB as a fully managed NoSQL database for modern app development. So it's a fast and highly available storage resources on Azure for hosting your data. So one of the things we are going to also explore, let me go to this. We are going to also talk about, because all these resources you create on Azure, they are hosted on a feature that is called Azure Resource Group. Azure Resource Group is a logical folder where all your resources are stored. So I can show you an example of Azure Resource Group here. This is a resource group. I created this few days ago. If I open it now, you see that I have some resources. I have a Windows 11 computer VM that's running there, and all the supporting resources to ensure that this VM runs successfully are also held in this Azure Resource Group. And if you can see there, the network security group, there's IP address, and there's also the OS disk is here. So, and there's also the VNet feature. That's the network connection that enables the interaction of these resources. So that resource group can do for you. This section, we are going to look at GitHub Workflow. GitHub is a popular version control. Among all the version control out there, GitHub still remain the most popular. So there's no how you with GitHub function, GitHub Workflow, you'll be able to set up automation in your code. Let's say you have your code already. Like for instance, this is a website. This is my own, because we've been building this thing. It's not like we are just starting. We've been building it since June. I've been able to build this is expected of you. This is my front index.html file. And so all you need to do, GitHub now, we have this file already on my GitHub repository. So with GitHub Workflow, any changes that I make to my own, maybe to this index.html, it will be reflected automatically to my own GitHub repository. Automatic. So let me actually zoom this out so that you can get to see the thing very well. I believe that this is what we are going to work on today. So that takes us to another. That will take us to another feature of today's section. So GitHub Work Actions, let's talk about it a little before we move on. Let me zoom this out. GitHub Actions makes it easy to automate all your software workflows. Now with world-class CI/CD. CI/CD means a continuous integration and continuous deployment. Now there's another term that comes out after this CI/CD is now CI/CD. CI mean in continuous integration, continuous deployment, and there's continuous delivery also. Continuous delivery is when your app is already in the production stage, so it's constantly delivered to customers without downtime. It enables you to build, test, and deploy your code right from GitHub. Make code reviews, branch management, and issue staging work the way you want. So that is how it works. So we move down to GitHub Workflow. GitHub Workflow and GitHub Actions they work hand in hand. GitHub Workflow is a feature of GitHub Actions, in the sense that when you define your actions under, let's be GitHub for you to be able to see by going to GitHub. This is how it looks. This is my own, and it's free of charge. You can sign up in seconds without wasting time. So we move down. If you look at it, we've been working so far. We have our repository. Let me preview all my repositories. So for this project is this Resume project. If I open it down to show that we've been working all this, we have our files that are here. Oh, this is not actually the repository. Let me go to the main repositories. Let me check out. We have this is the repository that we're going to work on today. So we have I have all the back end and front end files there. I've already set up GitHub Actions and GitHub Workflow. For this purpose of those that are just joining us, for the sake of those joining us today, we are going to also repeat the step of GitHub Workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this particular GitHub Workflow. We'll run a new one. So that is how we are going to do today. I'm going to delete this directory. We're going to run a new one. So first of all, we'll start by creating Azure resources. And this is where you need to be intact, because we are not going to use the command line interface. We are not going to use much of the Azure portal. You can create Azure resource using Azure portal. To this create. If I come out of this place and click on resource groups, that is if you are taking through Azure portal. This is Azure portal. If you go to portal.azure.com, it takes you directly, but you must have an active subscription. You can sign up for a free account, Azure free account. I'm going to drop the link on the chat section. So you just sign up. You sign up for 1 month, 30 days free, $200. So it can carry you to try 1 month for you to build and test resources on Azure. It's better that you have that exploring how Azure looks like. And once I drop the link, kindly sign up. And when you sign up, to be taken, you can is created and hosted there. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat section of the screen. So you can always go there to look at it. So look at now we haven't said that. We'll go straight to this creating resources for Azure. The first thing we are going to create, as I said earlier, Azure resource group are the logical folders. It's like a house, a folder in your local system where you have your files stored. That's how Azure resource group works. So we are going to do that by coming to if you do not have, you need to install what's VS Code. VS Code is a popular IDE, integrated development environment, whereby you use to write your code and all that. So you need to download that and install. If you do not have it, I'm going to drop the link on the chat section so you can go and download. It's free of charge. So let me minimize a little. If you observe, I am already directly on the project folder, resume project. So I am already there. So you need to save your folder on the desktop of your local system. When you do that, you now go to your IDE and click on add the folder to this particular workspace. Click here and select the folder on your desktop. So that it's that simple. So now we move down to creating Azure resource group. I'm going to minimize. Then once you do that, select the new terminal, select the new folder, the project folder, and be directly on that folder. Without that, you will not be able to have access to the file. If you list the file that are available in this using the ls command, you see that I have some files there. I have the backend file and I have the front end file. If you want to navigate by using the C command, navigate to the folder, the backend, to view the files that are available using the cd command. If you list it, you see that I have visitors counter, another folder inside it. Then if you go to this place and open it, you see that under the backend file, we have the visitors count. Then we have our function file and the run file. These are function files. We are going to also talk about this when in the course of creating our function app. So that is how it works. So we have that. So going back to our IDE, already I'm going to clear this. These are Linux command and they are simple one. To clear all the junk so that the screen does not look cluster. So let me zoom it out a little, zoom in a little so you can get to see. I believe it's visible enough. So we have this already. This my folder, this project folder is already Git recognized. Git has recognized this folder already. So for the sake of those starting new, for you to get along, first of all, you need to create a project folder on your desktop. After creating a project folder, you head to your GitHub profile. This is my GitHub account. Once you are here, you come to look at the plus sign directly beside your picture, your profile picture. You click it, new repository. Once you click the new repository, provide a repository name. It could be demo class. As long as it is available, it will go through. So it could be demo class. This is the demo GitHub repo that I want to create. Description is optional. You can choose to make it public, preferably make it public so that it will be available for anyone on the internet. But for production purpose, maybe for organizational purpose, their internal security practice could be that they want it to be private, in the sense that they only choose whom to share this repository with. So that's how it works. You can add a README file. You can also select the IMT license, is always a popular one that invoked. MIT. Sorry. That branch is main. Normally, some of you, your own might show master. Sorry about that. We have some connection issue and we are back. We have some connection issue. Apologies. So I was at this that you up your top while creating a repository. You'll be informed that okay, this repository is set to the main branch. So you can change that during using the settings option. So this is the setting option. So you rename this to either masters or main. That's the two main repository that GitHub is recognized. So for the sake of those, there's no minimum number. You can create as many repositories that you like for your business or for your this. You can create as many as you can. So there's no limit to a number of repositories you can create. But GitHub also has a paid plan for enterprise use. Yeah, but this one is free option for. So I believe that answers your question. Thank you very much. So we move down to this, and having specified all the information that we need, then we can go ahead and create the repository. This is just an empty repository. I'm going to go find this same repository on my local system. Call it the same name. It's not necessarily the same name. You can put anything, but I'm going to call it demo class. So this demo class 9 is here, and as you can see, it's empty. Nothing is here. So what we need to do first is to initialize and make sure that Git recognize the folder. Git recognize it, becomes stop direct. So getting main work for the day. All this one because of the day, those that are joining us new. So I'm going to add that particular demo class to my workspace by going directly to demo class. If you observe, it has been added. Look at it. So I'm going to select the terminal. I'm going to select the terminal using that demo class. Now in that directory, in the project directory. So this is what you are going to do. So now if you look at what we are using to work today, like people that have been joining us, there's a free resume template. Like this website, let me type it out. TV, okay. It's a free website for getting templates and resume. You can download any one that you like. So you need to download this particular one here. Free download. Just click on it and download. It should start in 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So that being done. So we have it downloading now. So you now go back to. Let me close out some of this. So we're confused. So we have downloaded. So if we go back to terminal, we have this Git. You need to do Git init. Git init simply means Git initialized. So once you do that, has been initialized, back to the folder. To see that this folder now recognized as a Git folder, though it's on your local thing. So we have that. Let's check out if that has been downloaded successfully. So we have it here. This is this thing. I'll cut it, paste it here. Once I paste it here, extract it. Just extract using the WinRAR is free. So once you you can extract to a particular folder on your desktop. Let's say okay, desktop. Let's see what will happen. Sorry about that. Get to it. Extract to CV. So it's it. Let me pull it out and bring it to you so you see it. So that has been extracted. If you can see that we will have our folder, our files inside the front end files, and the let's see. Okay, I just want to deal with the front end file. What we need. If I take it to this particular folder, that is if you are starting new. So we now have our project website folder in that particular repository to attach for that how board. The time you get to, so we have this folder now is to this place. So that those files. So what you need to do is to add these files to Git by using the git add command. We are adding it, all of them, the order. So after staging, you now commit by using the commit add or commit. You can say first commit later. It will commit all of them. So the file does not that it has been pushed to your GitHub repository. If you still GitHub repository, if you go back to your GitHub repository and refresh it, it will see that the thing has not been added, apart from the license and the readme created the repository. So we now get to to push the file, you need to come here, click on the code, copy this particular link here, and come to this place. Git remote. First of all, you need to add the origin. Git remote, add origin. You paste that link that we copy. Once you paste it, to add it. So once that has been added, so what you need to do now is to check your Git status. If you check Git status or Git log to know if you are in the right this thing, you see that it's directly pointing to the main. The head is the main. So you are in the right repo, right directory. So you now do what? You now commit. You now push the code. Git push origin main. The origin is the head is the main. So you're pushing it to that main repository. So once you do that, if it refuses to push, what you need to do is to use the force command, the -f command, to force the push. Let's see. You can see it has pushed up to 66%. So that is how we got to this particular section that we have our resources on GitHub. So that is just how to do that. How to achieve history on Git and refresh. Refreshing this now will give us that we have on our local system. All the changes from your index HTML that contain your folder, and once you finish, just add it, push add to automatically add and reflect on your GitHub. So that's how GitHub works. So we, at least for those joining us, be able to know how we get to this level that we are today. So quickly, the level that we are today just is that we already have our files. We already have our file pushed to GitHub. We have our front end and back end file, which is this, pushed to GitHub already. So what we need to do today is for us to get this thing. If you look at it, we have it here. We have the back end file, we have the front end, and if you open it, you see the website file there, and we have that. So we need to set up another solution that will help us to, we'll have to switch this back to the normal folder, which is my resume project, this. So we are going to switch that. I'll close this out and switch that to that new terminal. This is it. So in today's project directory, if you git, let's run our git status and see where we are. You can see that all the files have been committed, nothing to commit. The working tree is clean. So that is how GitHub will tell you. So now we get to create what? By creating Azure resources, we need to go out of this folder. We need to leave the project folder. That's the resume project with the CD and this sign on your keyboard. So we have moved out of the project folder. So now what we need to do is to use the AZ command. The AZ command is Azure. You need to install the CLI command on your system to be able to have access to this. Or even if you are not using, if you can use PowerShell directly on your system, the PowerShell, access, achieve PowerShell, and inbuild the system. But you just need to install the Azure CLI on your system. So we have our PowerShell now. Let's say we are creating all our resources using PowerShell. Let me try to maximize this so that you can see the font size clearly. I'll take it to 28. If that is not fine, I'll still take it to, let's say 36. Okay, this should be fine now. So we have that. So inside, in this place, the first thing we are going to create is what? The resource group. By using the command az group, create. Then you have that name flag that you need to take note of. Any mistake, the stuff will not create, the resources will not create. So make sure that you take note of the dash and everything that follows. Then the name is what? Our website storage. We can just put it website storage. RG. RG means resource group. Location. Where do you want to put? Where do you want your resources to be created? The location. That can put the East US. It's convenient for you. There's no, except there are some specialized resources, Azure resources that are not available in some locations. So you need to take note of that. But for resource group, is any location works for it. So we have created our resource group without wasting time. Why using the faster it does not state is property date. If it fails to report failed. So that's how it can work. So the next thing we're going to create is Azure Storage. Clear this so that we have a clean screen. So I don't know how many people are taking notes. I'm going to put up against, and you'll be able to see your own, take notes of it. Let me enlarge. You can help me. Okay, maybe we should put that on the chart, no, on the chart section of this. So we put it now, so you'll be able to copy it and go on. So we have it there on the chart. Feel free to use it. So we move down Azure storage account by AZ storage account. Correct. The name must be globally unique. Azure storage account is a global resources on Azure. In the sense that if you create a name that, if you specify a name that has been taken, it will not go. It will report that the name has been taken, so it's not available. So you must try to use a name that is unique. You can use your name. You can use your. We are running our Azure community. We have Azure Nigeria community, Azure Nigeria storage, Azure Nigeria store. This cannot be taken. So names like this that are unique, that are not that common, and more advisable to use. Then you specify the resource group. The resource group that we just created, you specify it because you are putting this storage account in that resource group. So the resource group name is web storage RG. So we have done that. So the location, you can choose to put it in the same location you put the resource group. It's not compulsory. You can select another location, but most importantly, it is advisable that they all be in the same location. So the location is US. So the now another aspect that we're going to specify is we are going to specify the SKU. Like I was going through that this thing, we have the SKU to be standard SKU. I also have a lot of them. So we are going to specify that SKU. The SKU we are going to specify now will be, let's say we have the storage redundant. We want to use the standard underscore the locally redundant storage. This is okay because it's not like a bigger project like that. So this plan is very okay for you. Instead of using the geo redundant storage, this locally redundant storage works fine. So for this purpose, so the storage kind is the version 2. You're going to use the kind, the storage version 2. We have that. Once you have this complete and completely written out, once you have that completely written out, so all you need to just do is to press the enter key on your keyboard, and that will create the extra storage. Let's see if this create that for us. It takes a little while to create. So while that is being done, the next resource we are going to create is called we are creating storage account now. So we are going to enable static website for Azure Storage. That static website feature is actually when you you to upload your code to the storage container, and let's see. Okay, it's great. So to create it successful for us, I want to get into my Azure portal. I lost my connection. So an Azure portal, what you do is all you need to do here already. If you look at it, we have our storage website already. If you go to resources, let's count the resources we just created if they are here. So if you go to home, check out resource group. You see, okay, I was there already. Let's check out if that resource has been created. It's okay, it has been created now. So the storage account will be inside this, it will be directly here. It's still creating. That is why maybe let's see if it's ready. Okay, it's ready. Look at it. So if you go back to PowerShell, we see that okay, all the provisioning step has been completed. So we have it there. So you see, a step is long. So that is that. So now the next thing we are going to do is to enable checkout if by default the storage container should be created for us. As soon as you create, we create. In case it does not create, so we will do that by going down. I'm going to minimize this a little, zoom out a little so I can have this tab with me. So I'm going to go down to containers under data storage. Under this blade, the storage blade, you see data storage container. Then we click it. Let's check out if the container has been created. So there's no container created already. So you need to create that. So we have it to be, there's a unique container that Azure recommend, but you can create it with any name. Then for privacy and security purpose, the public access level should be private, except maybe if you just want everybody to access your container on the web. So it's private. So you now click on create. The container has been created. So now the next step is for us to enable the storage website, storage accounts for static website. You do that by going to under this storage check through to static web data management. Under data management blade, you see static website. So you enable the static website by clicking enable. You can as well use Azure CLI. You can enable this using PowerShell command. So for the sake of those who want to, because this section is meant to teach you what everything about. Mostly, you need to understand how to play around Azure CLI to actually help you in your real world project. You'll be able to do that. And so we will use Azure CLI to enable that static website feature. So we do that by using the Azure storage command, storage account. So okay, that we are uploading this because in the Azure storage class we have Blob Storage. Blob Storage is a kind of is a class of storage account that you can use for any kinds of data. It's text unstructured data. So we are enabling the storage account in Blob Storage. So that will take us to Blob Storage service. So we have the properties and updates command. So the account name is Azure Niger store. So we need to specify the name of the storage account. Then the feature we want to enable is static website feature. So once that is done, then the index.html, index-document we are working mostly, we are focusing on index.html because that is where your front-end data, front-end files for your website are stored. So we are going to enable the index.html for this purpose. So we have, once that is done, you press enter, it will enable. So that has been enabled. If you go back to the Azure portal and refresh, you see it has even enabled already. Let's refresh this and see. Because I click enable, that refresh and see. Okay, so that is done. While that is being done, let's go back to the next thing we need. So then this thing is here, index document is here. So we now see that our container is empty. There's no file there. So the purpose where we want to work now is to be able to have our data here being uploaded directly to Azure Storage account through GitHub. We wouldn't have to do that in our local system. The local system is meant for us to take our content to the GitHub. Then from GitHub will do the automation by taking it automatically to Azure Storage account. So we have that. So let's go back to enabling Azure Cdn. To enable Azure Cdn, we will have to create Cdn front door and Cdn profiles. So we do that by clicking here. Once you click on create, or if you can't find it on your dashboard, this Microsoft Azure portal dashboard is the dashboard. If you cannot find it here, if you cannot find it in this place, you can search for it. Once you search for it, it will come out front door. So you click create CDN profile. So Azure front door is what we are creating. You now click on create. So storage account, the resource group, select the same resource group that you have your storage account hosted, which is this one. So we are already to pick the location of the resource group. Once you select it, it's US. So the name is Azure Niger Cdn. This is the Cdn profile. You can put profile there to differentiate it. And use the standard tier And what do you need again? Okay, endpoint name. The endpoint name, or there are two ways to create this. If you cannot create it, if you are not creating it directly from here, you can create it under the storage account. So the preferred name should be azniger endpoint, or let's specify cdn endpoint. So we have it specified. So that the origin is what the origin is your static website. We are working with static website. That's the feature we're working. So you select it. Ensure you select this origin name. You to see that it will pull up your storage account straight up. Look at it here. So you select it. So when that is done, leave the rest of the thing the way they are, and click on review and create. Under that review and create, I believe when that validation is done, it's passed. You now click on create. So we have it done now. It's been created. Okay, it's submitting the request. So when now we have done the we have created the CDN, we have created the storage account. So now let's go back to our storage account and see what we can do there. Resource group. So under resource group, we have scroll down to a quicker way to get to this, just to go to this place and go to storage account. Already you see it here. So so once you open the storage account, you have, I need to minimize to be able to see the blade. So we have this. If you scroll down, you see CDN, Azure Cdn, right directly under security and networking blade. So you click on the Azure Cdn. Once you click the Azure Cdn, you have the CDN profile is loading. Let's see if it will pop up here. So while that is done, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open this in a new tab so we can quickly. The first thing we are going to say, the next thing we are going to create is Azure Cosmos Db. You need Azure Cosmos Db to function. So these are the resources to be able to give us a functional website. So we do that. So now we are going to also work on. Okay, so it's open. This now create. You are going to do that one quickly in the show. Let's see if this CDN profile would up. So we have the next thing we're creating, Azure Cosmos DB. If you can't find it on your dashboard, search for it, you to surely come out. So I'm going to create. So click on create. The recommended one is core SQL. There are APIs. I forgot that. Okay, that's escaped my mind. Cosmos DB operate using APIs. We have the Cosmos DB API for MongoDB, Cassandra, and Table, Creamline, Graph. So we are going to go with the core SQL for this purpose. So we click on. Once we click on create, the subscription is active. The active subscription. One subscription in one. I have more subscription, so I just have one here. Group that we use to put a storage account to make things easier. Why is it important for you to use one resource group? Is that for you to not to incur cost after you've done your demo section? It's just for you to delete the resource group, and all the resources inside of it will go away, will be deleted. So instead of having to create them in different resource group and go about deleting each resource group after another, so that will take your time. So instead, you just use one CLI command and delete the resource group, and all the resources will go. So what we need to do now is azniger, the name, specify the account name, azniger Cosmos DB, Cosmos. We can leave it like that. Then the location, I'm going to select the same location that we have already. We have been working with, which is the East US. So you select under capacity mode, leave it at provision throughput. Then after this, limit the amount of throughput this can. You can check it, you can leave it, so it does not matter. Then you review and create. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop the moderator in the chat section. That when validation is passed, create it. So the CDN endpoint is not reflecting on our storage account. So okay, let's see something. If the name is here, since it's not reflecting, I believe if I refresh it again, it should reflect. Already link it up to this. So the Cosmos DB is deployed. Azure Function. So, oh, okay. This is actually better. So in Azure Function now we have, in Azure Cosmos DB, the deployment is done. So we have okay, still initializing. Let's go ahead and create Azure Function by, look at it, function app. If you cannot find it here, you can as well search for it. So I'm going to click that to create it. So click on create. One thing you need to know, in Azure Function, we have what they call function app. Function is the feature, while function app is what we are working on. So here we are going to select code and specify the name. Azure Niger. We can use any a name that is unique. Function. Azure Niger -function. So we select the runtime stack. The runtime stack is PowerShell. You can write your function with any language, but here we are selecting PowerShell. You can use Python, you can use Node.js, you can use .NET, you can use Java. We are going to select PowerShell here, and the version is 7.0, 7.2. Then the location, I'm going to select the same location that we have been working with, East US, the East US. Let's see if that is available. That means it's not available. So we take another available location. That is where, let's see if it's not available. Okay, it's available. Okay, so select that. So what we are working, the OS we are working on is Windows or Linux. You can leave it on Windows, you can select Linux, but here we are going to leave it in Windows. So the consumption plan option is serverless. The consumption plan is very good for you to use because it's you only get charged once the function is run. It is not when it's not run. So the host, let's check out that tabs. What will host it is the Niger group. You host it in that storage account host. It's Niger version 2. You look at it. If you look at the host here, ensure that you select the storage account that we have. Okay, let me see something first. Let me refresh this page. I know the changes will not be saved, but let me. Cosmos DB is done creating, and we can see that because the host is supposed to reflect that. So we have it created already. So let's go back to the resource group is the one that we've been working with scenes, website storage, function name is Niger -avun. So we have, because of our time, I need to be fast. So we have this. The region is US. Leave it on Linux. Consumption plan. I was supposed to select the host. Let me go back to the hosting tab. This should be the storage account. So we create. So that is being created. While the function is being created, let us go back to our GitHub repository. And we need to set up what we call Azure service connection. We need to set a service connection between Azure and GitHub. And you can do that by creating a service connection that will use the Azure AD to authenticate the connection between GitHub and Azure. So we are, like I said before, I'll delete this YAML file. We create a new one today. I'll delete it. So after deleting it, we commit changes. So for us to synchronize the changes here with the one we have on-prem, we have to do what is called Git Fetch. We have to fetch the, let me go back to the directory where the project folder directory, which is on desktop. Then from desktop, we get to resume project folder. This is where the files are. So we have it now. And what we need to do now is to use the Git Fetch so that we need to, because we just deleted the the main.yaml file from our GitHub repo. We need to also synchronize it. So we fetch the repository so that everything will be the same. We will not have any issue. If you check its status, okay now. Okay, it's clean. So that is that. So while that is being done, okay, our function app is done creating. So we go to the resources because this is where we need to do some setting. Here you have created the column to Azure storage, to the storage account that we have. Profile is uncreated. So please, if you have any question, feel free to drop it on this. So we have Azure Cdn. Let's see if it will load created. If not, we create a new one. So that has been created. So this is Azure function. You have Azure function now. So you have to click on this under, while in Azure function tab, you need to click on, you need to go to the function tabs. You see function, you click it. So once you click, we have not created any function yet. So now we are going to create a function. So we click on it. We have created the app, but we have not created a function yet. So we now click it. Once you click on the create, it will load up. So the development importer, okay, what are we using? You can use VS Code. You can use any editor plus code tools. You can develop it in importer. So we are going to select develop importer. We are working in this portal. So now what we need to do is to scroll down and select the HTTP trigger. We are creating the HTTP trigger function. So you click on it. Once you click on it, you select create. So that it will create the function. So after the function has been created, there are two things we need to do. We need to work on the integration tab. which is to integrate the input and output function. Let that open up. So now let's create a new, okay, we can say use existing and see what happened. Let's create a new one. This is Azure Cdn profile. Already exists. So why not is it not linking up? Okay, under this place. Let's use a new name. We can say one and add one there. Let's say it's standard. Standard. So we have the CDN endpoint name. The endpoint is the Niger CDN endpoint one. We add it. So we have to take note of this, but we are going to use it. I'll copy it to my notepad. We are going to we will need this thing. So we paste the CDN endpoint name. We also paste the profile name, CDN profile name. So that's the two things we will need later in this project. So we have that done. The host origin of the host is the static website. We select it. So we click on create. Now the HTTP trigger is there. It has open. So we will go to add input function. Then now select the binding type. This adding the input function will enable it to create the binding and the binding, because without binding the resources together, you cannot achieve what we need. And the storage binding type we need to create is for Azure Cosmos Db. So select that. The name is not there. The Cosmos DB account connection is not there. So we are going to create new. So this is it. It will automatically pick the Cosmos DB name and give us the name. Once you do that, it will give you this. So the name is Azure Cosmos DB _document or new. So we have the input function. The document parameter is what are we doing? We are doing, this is Cosmos in. This is the input. So we are going to name it Cosmos in. And the name of we are working on a resume challenge. You can say Azure Resume. So the name is there. Then what we are collecting is the visitors counter. We are collecting visitors, numbers of visitors that visit our site is what we are going to collect. Visitors count and say counter. That's the collection name. Now, all these other options are not necessary. So you leave it and click on OK. So to update the binding, after that, we can go back to the output and also add it. Click on the add. And let's see if this is done. So we have that being created. Okay, we just have 15 minutes left. So now we are going, without wasting time, let's go back to the repository that we are working on now. So the repository is right here. So we go to settings. If we go to settings, in your own, the setting will show up here. I maximize my screen. I'm zooming my screen, so that's why the setting is there. Under that repository we are working on, then click on action. This is called GitHub Action. So once you click on the action, you click on new. Under action, let's do like this. Let's set up the secret first. We're going to create the secret. I will delete this failed workflow. Under action here, You're already in the action. Now under the setting of that repository, you have, let's see the setting under that repository. We create a secret first. This secret will enable the authentication between Azure and GitHub. So we click the secret action. So we have this credentials already. It may not pick it, so we have to remove it and create a new one. So to create a GitHub, to be able to do that using the Azure CLI for fast this thing, we're going to use this. We are going to use a GitHub a CLI command to do that. So we are going to create a new repository secret, and the name is Azure Credentials. Credentials. Let me make it caps. So we have it. So we are going to generate the service connection value code and paste it here. So that takes us to our ID. So we are going to do that by going into our PowerShell and type SZ AD SP. This service endpoint is this. Azure AD is the AD. So after that, we now enter we create the service connection for RBA, role-based access control. Is what we are creating for RBAC. So that the name of the storage is what we are going to specify, which is AZ Niger store. And after that, what we need to do, first of all, before you create this stuff, you need to specify, you need to ensure that you know your subscription ID. By running this AZ account list, it will bring out the active subscription ID. Like in my own ID, this is my own ID. You need this ID now. You copy it, simply copy this. I'm going to automate the code so that it will be faster. I'm going to work on it and paste it once. Then the resource group, you need to specify that, which is the web storage RG. So that's just then I'm going to copy this, then paste on this place. Let's do away with that. So we have the storage account name. Role is contributor. Contributor will be able to add files to the storage. So it will be able to edit and all that. So that's the authentication access that we are giving to the person that will do that. So this will generate a value that you come and paste in this place. This is the authentication. So that when that is done, we now go back to our function app. We have created the input this thing. So the parameter name now already will come in. We already created it before. To pick the parameter name automatically. Then the output will be the same thing with the other one, which is then the parameter name is okay. We created we use the same parameter name we use in the other one is Azure Storage. But was it what we use? Okay, Cosmos DB out, because this is the output. You can use output DB out, and the database name is Azure Resume. So we have that. So we have another one is to be visitors counter, because we are actually collecting the numbers of visitors that visit our website. So that is that. And after that, we just click on create. So let's go back and see if our okay, this key has been generated. Copy exactly like this. Right click, go to this place, go to your GitHub secrets and paste. Once you paste, you add the secret. Click on add. So this has already given the authentication access to Azure between this repository and Azure Storage. So we now go back to action. The action that we have here is to set up GitHub Action. So once you are here, there are templates that you can use. Okay, suggested template, or you can pick from. But we are going to set up a GitHub workflow by ourselves by clicking on this place. So once you click here, the name, leave it at main.yaml file. You can clear up all this stuff, all this. You can clear up all this. We don't need it. And now, when that has been cleared up, so by now our storage account should be okay. If you go to code and test under the Azure function, go to test and code and check what is there. So once we are here, you have two functions, the run function and okay, you have the function files and the file that will run the function created. So now he's setting that up for us. So we have this YAML file template. Okay, it's connecting. So if you look at this place, the HTTP trigger, let's ensure that this connection is established. Okay, it's connected. Okay, so we have this. You can bring this down. Let me minimize it a little. You can bring the log down. Okay. So now we have this already. This is the run files. So what we need to do is to add Cosmos DB in this place. Yes, you add Cosmos DB there because we are actually working with a Cosmos DB account. Let me show you something. So we have Cosmos DB in this place. I have to put the $sign at the back. That is what we need to do. So we have already defined this before in our last class, which is under the back end and the front end. We are dealing with the run.ps file. The ps here is PowerShell, that's the function, the short name for PowerShell. So we have this to be under the run file. We have Cosmos DB in. Cosmos in will be here in binding. So you have to define that here already. Also define that in this place. Cosmos in, and use this. So now we have that. If you look at everything remained the same from what we have in that place. Let's see what changed. So we can quickly add it. So there's nothing much that is changing there. So we have that. If you go back to this place, you should see that everything is fine. So we now go back to, you save the changes. So if you go back to function.json file, this is where you actually define what we need to do. You look at this one has been changed. You need to copy this same name. You need to copy this name. That is Azure Cosmos _DB. If you go back here to function app, we change this to Azure Niger Cosmos DB _document. If you look at it, they are the same here. Okay, it's just Cosmos. There's no DB added there. So we'll change that to remove the DB. That is for the input. This is the input, and the output is the same. Everything remains the same. The database name, the collection name, visitors counter, then only this one we'll just remove this and add Azure Cosmos. So we have this set up already. If you compare the files, they are the same. So that is done. Once this is modified, you just need to click on save. Then the changes have been made. We need to commit these changes to GitHub by using the git add command. The one that is added, we now say git commit -m, the commit message modified. So we have that. So git commit, git push, sorry. Man, we have the A flag already. So that will be there. So the changes are now reflecting. So now we need to have our files, this thing. We need to have the files. So I'm going to copy this. I've already defined this already. The YAML file in on my local system because of our time. I'm going to paste this YAML file here. Once we paste here, if you look at the first line, the first YAML instruction here in the YAML file is that the GitHub, the file will first of all check out. It will run the Ubuntu latest. That's the OS it will be running. Then and it will run on the main. It will trigger on the main branch. Then it will log in using the service connection we just set up using the Azure credentials. Then the first line will be to upload the batch file, all the website file to. I'm going to change this to our storage account name, which is AZ-Niger for today. And then the destination is the container, storage container that we created. The source is front end. So that is just it. Then under this Azure function codes, we have upload. And the account name is, the storage account name is AZ-Niger store. The name is what? What do we specify as function name then? Oh, quickly, let's go and check it. I didn't take notes. Function name was okay. az-function. We have that to be that. az-fun. Okay, we come to this and change that to az-niger-func. So the same thing will be here. Copy this and paste. Our time is not there again. So these are the steps for you to set up all these things. Once you set this up, it will automatically, if you can see that the folder that we have here, we have our folder already. The folder is that you have a resume. Then under the resume, we have the back end and front end. Under the back end, we have the visitors counter because the feature we are adding is visitors counter. So under visitors counter, we have the function app, the function.json file, and the run.ps file. So that is how you should have your folder there. If you can see that all our files have been committed, let's ensure that things are okay. I check GitHub status. Okay, it's okay. So now we have that. So we quickly move down to the CDN. We have already created CDN. The CDN profile we created, we copied the names and saved it because we are going to need it. So the profile name is AZ-Niger CDN profile. We're going to replace that with this. Replace that with this one. Once you replace that, then the CDN endpoint name is different from this. I'm going to also copy that and put there. So we have, okay, then the resource group, ensure to change the resource group. The resource group is web storage RG, web storage RG, because of our time. Then the no waits command is that it will keep on running without any delay. So the part we are putting in is this part. So we have, let's verify that everything is okay. Okay. look at the function.json, and the first line or in this one is going to upload the run.ps1 file into the root counter of your website, the roots of your website. So that is how it will work. So we now do that. After doing that, we ensure that then the name is main.yaml. So that is how it is defined. So once you do that, you just click on start commit. Destination, okay. So once you start commit, then you can put the name of the commit name. Added YAML file. The commit message is added YAML file, but time is almost over. So we have that. So once you do that, it will be running, the YAML file will be running. So that's how you can have your files on into your GitHub. If you go back to action, quickly, let's go back to action and check. This is is in progress. So the status is in progress. When that is done, if you come back to our storage account on Azure, click on the container, you see that your storage files. Oh, sorry, this wasn't created. I don't understand. Okay, sorry. Okay, it has been created. So you leave it. So you now come back to the storage container. You will have, if you click on the web container, you see that the website file will come in here. After this YAML file has been successful, let's preview it. That has been. So if you go back to action, let's see action. The build step. If it fails as it's failed now, you need to troubleshoot. You need to, okay, under the uploading files, there is an error in the CLI file. So it has uploaded the website code. So you need to ensure that you check out that the destination is okay by going back to this. If you go back to the GitHub Action and click on the workflow, if you view workflow now, that something is going wrong, which is in this place. Okay, there was no space between this one. The destination file to be this. There was no space between the storage account name and the destination. So when that is done, you now start again, commit again. Make correction. Add the commit message, then commit quickly, committing directly to the main branch. So that is, this should go. Let's go back to this. It's in queue. Let's view it and see the uploading file. We are on the stage of uploading the files. Reach out to me directly on my handles. You can reach out to me on my maybe Twitter or in LinkedIn or anywhere that you feel that you can actually learn. It's uploading the files. So you can see the files is going. Let's see what happened. So that is what to do. I just wanted to finish. You can preview the website on a web browser and see. You can, if the step fails, yeah, the YAML file will always point out where the error comes from. So you can go back and correct it. That's how you keep on troubleshooting so you get it right up to the last. So we have we have come to the end of this section today. So let's quickly check out to ensure that we have our files in the container, refreshing it. It's still uploading. It's still reporting that same error. So that means something wrong with that step. Let's check out. So that's how you go about troubleshooting that step until you get it right. If you view the work files, you should be able to see, okay, this is where it is reporting this step. Oh, the line number is, okay, let's check the line number. If you check out the line number, you see where the error comes from. So you now know how to troubleshoot it. So that is how you go about troubleshooting that. So people that are being on this training is on line 21. So if you go back to view the workflow file, you have it. You ensure that line 21, which is this place. So there is still something that is wrong of the batch file. Is in Azure store. So that is how you can troubleshoot. So that is that for today. Thank you very much for joining our section today, and we'll see you next time. By next month, we are starting up on Azure DevOps, and that will scale out through the month of August. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or to any members of Azure Nigeria community. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining. Have a lovely day. Bye.